Chat, I just heard an awful joke. And I want you to tell me first, why is it that when someone hears an awful joke, the first thing he wants to do is to share it with others? Which is what I want to do right now, chat. I want to share the joke with you. So, the joke happens during the Weimar Republic, when you could find a lot of desires fulfilled within Weimar Germany. And a tourist goes in and he wonders which is the most pleasurable way of having sex in Germany. And everyone tells him it's called electric sex. He needs to go to a brothel and he needs to ask for electric sex. So he goes to the brothel and asks around, and eventually he finds one that does serve and cater to those needs. And he's told that he should go upstairs and go to door number 3. So when he enters door number 3, there's an old lady on a bed, covered with wrinkles, saggy titties, and she's got a pirate patch. So she reveals the pirate patch. Turns out she doesn't have an eye, and she says, "Go on, big boy, put it into my socket." That's the joke. That's I don't know if the delivery managed to, but it is what I heard. It gave me a 5-second stun. I was like, and then the realization kicks in. It's very deep, very deep. Thank you, JDA79, for saying that I have the most satisfying voice on the internet. Solid Slug doesn't seem to appreciate. But, well, subject to change. Well, that's why I had the emoji subject to change, although careful with that emoji. As I understand, it might mark you as a supporter of Putin. Okay, what should we talk about today before going about the family? Do you know that there's this Netflix show, Jeffrey Dahmer? Never heard about Americans who accomplish stuff enough to get their own Netflix show, but and it's also this guy from American Horror. He plays a lot of horror movies for some reason. Apparently, it's a serial killer. Do you know what women like to watch on YouTube? Statistically speaking, especially the US. This is fascinating. Crime drama. Especially stuff with detectives, serial killers. Like, apparently it's very appealing to the female audience right now. So if you have a, if you want to have a YouTube channel where a lot of ladies go into your comment section, this is what you need to talk about. Serial killers, dramas, CSI type of thing, you know? Now, the thing with Dahmer, as I understand it, he is part of the LGBT community. He was born that way. And Netflix added the LGBT tag to the movie, which enraged a lot of people on Twitter. They were very, very upset. And I'm like, but why though? Because, like, why is the tag not belonging there? Also, into a very fascinating week of putting things under the rug, as they say. There is, hold on, first ever transgender in the military selling secrets to Russia. Let's see. Now, what's interesting is that if you look here, the news articles do not come from CNN. Like, you will find these articles on Telegraph. You will find them on Metro Weekly. You will find them on Real Clear Defense. But you don't find them on Fox News. Now, there was an article on Fox News when he became the first ever. Do you notice this? Like, the reason I'm pointing it out, I need to make sure that people understand why I'm like the first ever, you know? They treat it like it's a historical event. Basically, like, it used to be interesting maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but now I literally don't give a shit, and they will be like, oh, the first ever female lesbian, transgender, bisexual to star in a Disney movie. You know, like that. That's the hype that they're bringing it up, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, it's not something surprising, you know? It's not something shocking. It's like, okay, someone got a job at Disney. But they treat it like it's supposed to go into the history movies. That if I were to ask them, like, this is what really is fascinating. If you ask them which is the first black female superhero casted in a Disney movie, they don't know. Why don't you know? It's historical, like you should know. Do you not read your American history? So it's a marketing tool, right? But when it's the opposite, like when they do something bad, then you don't talk about it. Like, either you talk about it constantly or you don't talk about it. Like, pick one. Like, of course, they're human beings. Like, everyone is going to commit, like, if you look at a demographic, there is no demographic on Earth that doesn't commit crimes and also commits acts of charity and things that they should be commended. Although it would be nice if you hear more about acts of charity. Like, I don't get that in the news anymore. You don't hear about acts of charity anymore. It's just, the first ever starring in a Disney movie. So that is very interesting. My anode don't want none if you got no charge Han. Oh my god, man of culture. Like, where did you came up with that? Holy shit. V would love to stay and watch, but gonna meet the family at the local Comic-Con. A family of nerds. Holy crap. Family of geeks. By the way, they're remaking what is it called? The Geeks versus Jocks? Revenge of the Geeks. Yes, Revenge of the Geeks is being remade. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it, but I'll tell you about it nevertheless. Here we go. I found it. So here's the original, Revenge of the Geeks, and this is the remake. Right? One of them does not look like the other. For a modern audience! Now, my problem with it is that it's not going to work. Why? Because when I grew up, being a geek had stigma. And the stigma came from positions of power as well as from other peers. So, if you watch the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin, the woman not only mocks his comic book collection, but at the end of the movie, she cleans it up because it's Hollywood saying, yeah, it's time for him to grow up. It's time for him to mature. Stop playing with your fucking toys. Stop reading comic books because those are for children. And become a man. Just grow the fuck up already, right? So that was how it was viewed to be a geek. You're like the social outcast. Like, why can't you play football like normal people? Do sports. Exercise. Don't read comic books. Those are for children. That was the mentality, right? So there was an actual hostility, like a social pressure to stop being a geek. And on top of that, you already had the mainstream media making at least one article per month saying how, oh, look, there's a serial killer. Do you know what he did? He was playing video games. Oh, video games. And then it was the Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, do you know what people do when they play Dungeons and Dragons? They worship Satan. Right? So, within that culture, within that environment, to have a movie called Revenge of the Geeks made sense. Because they were legitimately ostracized by mainstream culture. Today, everyone is a fucking geek. In fact, the word geek doesn't exist. Because, like, name me a person who doesn't play video games. Comic books are fucking mainstream. Like, there is no more stigma associated with being a geek. Trying to make a movie about it, a remake Revenge of the Geeks, it just doesn't work. Like, you would have to first create another stigma against geeks, and then you can do it. Like, you could have, I don't know, Revenge against the Trump supporters. Oh, maybe that would make sense. But no, like, you just can't. Not with the current culture. You know, like, some movies are not timeless. Some movies are specifically attached to a period in time. Like, for example, The Day After Tomorrow, right? Where America froze over. We have global warming now. We're more enlightened. Like, the science has shifted. We understand things better. So you can't have a movie within modern time where America freezes over. It just doesn't fucking work. I also love the fact that they sought refuge in Mexico, you know, also to lecture people. Look, well, how would you like it if you were to go to Mexico, huh? Because, like, apparently the Frost had borders. So the Frost knew only to stop at the United States. Great movie, I fully recommend it. Day After Tomorrow, beautiful. I kind of want the nerd stigma to come back. Dude, like, there wouldn't be... Like, who would give the stigma? Like, if you want the nerd stigma to come back, who would be applying the stigma, considering that everyone is playing video games and knows about comic books? Like, who would be pure enough to apply such a stigma in today's society? Smoke weed every day. You know what? I would love to, considering I just saw my electricity bill. I'm just curious, like, what do you guys think about this electricity bill? I mean, in Romania, it's fucking a lot. It gave me a heart attack when I saw it. Let me transfer it into dollars. Well, you know what? For an American, if I tell you my energy bill, you would think that it's peanuts. But for me, it's a lot. $160, chat. $160 a month, alright? Like, for me, it's quite a bit. But I'm pretty sure that for Americans, it's let me see what is the minimum wage in Romania. I'll tell you in a bit, so you can So the minimum wage in Romania is around $400, right? So if you have $400 wage, you need to spend $150 on electricity. You pay $300. Oh, God. It is a pittance, yeah. Goddamn Americans, you know, like they just don't understand how the rest of the world works. 160 a month, that's more than me in the United States. Yeah, but the problem is, yeah. See, this is me from the past when I was, you know what? I want to save the environment. Okay, like, remember, if you want to save the environment, you're going to end up like me. So I was like, I want to save the environment. I care about the animals. I want to help Greta in her fight. And I am going to put an induction stove and an electric oven. I will transition. I have transitioned to an electrical kitchen. I now have transition remorse, but still, I did the deed. I have solar now, and it's less. God. Just... You know what? That is a good point. Capsule from the chat. I need to go nuclear. I should have cooked using nuclear power. That's what I should have done. I should have... how much... Like, how would it be if every kitchen would have, like, a nuclear appliance? Like, if every house would have nuclear energy. Like, how many times would you have to change the isotope or whatever it is that you're using? I don't know how nuclear reactors work. I'm pretty sure someone in the chat does. People in the chat, they surprise me every fucking time. But you need, like, radioactive material, right, to make the reaction. Like, I'm really curious if every house would be able to run on nuclear power, like, generated within the house. Like, if you were allowed to buy your own nuclear power and create your own nuclear reactor, like, how much would it cost to replace it? And for how long? Because I think it would be quite fucking long, wouldn't it? Like, you wouldn't need to change it every day. In Romania, hydro is the biggest percentage. Yes, I know. Decentralize the energy grid. Solar for all. Oof. Well, I'm really curious how it's going to be in winter because, the sun isn't shining that much during that time. Yeah, the nuclear reactors for everyone. That would be fun. The problem is, like, then people could make their own atomic bombs. And, by the way, there is a kid who actually did make an atomic bomb. I don't think he made the atomic bomb. I think he got the chases going, or at least he couldn't get the chases. He could make a dirty bomb. So in the United States back in the day, you had the smoke alarms, and the smoke alarms had a small radioactive isotope. So he bought a lot of them. He called the company and asked, like he said, he's making a study and he needs a vast amount of them. So he got a vast amount of them for cheap, and then the FBI knocked at his door. No, not kidding. Like, that's an actual thing. I wonder if it gave him cancer, though, because you're working with the nuclear stuff. He made a mini nuclear reactor. No, I think he made a dirty bomb. But whatever. It is what it is. My house is nuclear powered, as my state leads the U.S. nuclear power. Yeah, well, that is possible, yes. You could actually, like, if you live in a place with a nuclear power plant, you can say, like, my house is nuclearly powered. He collected lots of material and contaminated his neighborhood. Smoke alarms still do. They have a radioactive warning sticker. Well, can you not just buy a lot of them then? Use Google, nuclear Boy Scout. He looked irradiated. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, if you manage to actually have a project. Didn't Marie Curie also died because of the radiation? So, whatever. You know that joke with the fuck around that you find out, right? Like, it's hold on, let me show you, right? So there's this meme going around with a guy who made a TikTok video, and he has a point. But this is what I want to say with the Boy Scout and Marie Curie, right? Like, if you want to find out a 6, then you go over here on the gradient line, and you need to fuck around of a 6 in order to find out the 6. And this is what the Boy Scout did, right? Like, he wanted to find out the 10, so he had to fuck around on a level of 10, and then he found out the 10. Had he not done it, had he not fucked around, he would never have found out. It would have been a 0. But, like, he went like, all right, let's see if I can make a nuclear bomb. And he got irradiated, right? He fucked around with a 10, and then he got, like, a 10 radiation. It's like, same with Marie Curie, you know? It is true when you think about that. That is science, yeah. Like, if you... the proportion of fucking around gives you an equal proportion of finding out. Your country invented the concept of vampires. That's not a Romanian invention, for the love of God. I keep saying that. 160 without AC. I did kept up the AC for like maybe 1 hour a day or something in those lines. Because I would just leave it on a little bit and then I would turn it off for the entire day. So I wouldn't use it constantly. Although I do make a lot of videos, and that probably consumes a lot of power, but it is what it is. Whatever, you know. I got buyer's remorse now. I gotta pay the bills. Horrible. I like when money is coming in, not when money is going out. Still, let's talk about family. This is who can help you pay the bills, chat. This is who can help you pay the bills. Although if you have a large enough family, you may not get them to pay you the bills. You might pay bigger bills. I love this thumbnail though, right? Do you know what this thumbnail is? I'll tell you, right? So you see on this side of the fence, there is diversity, right? So you have like a person of color, you have a white man, another person of color, and on the other side, it's horrible, chat. It's horrible. There's the family unit. Oh God. And they are chained. They are chained to the family. So this is, the diversity is liberating. They're trying to liberate them because they are suffering. This family, this poor, helpless family is suffering. This is just, wow. I mean, holy shit. Now, for the biggest time period of mankind, family was what kept people together. A family unit, yes. All right. Yes, they're crying next to the fence just like AOC. So, this whole thing with the welfare state is a new invention. I believe it came after World War I and it got exacerbated after World War II. So before then, there wasn't any welfare. And the question is, it's like, well, so what happens to old people? I mean, if you have no welfare, how are they going to get pension? And the answer to that is, well, you had the incentive of making a big family. So you made a lot of kids, and then the kids would take care of, like, you take care of your kids, and then the kids take care of you when you're old. That's how it worked. Now, there are some people who say, well, like me, my family is awful. I have an awful family. I don't want to. Well, yeah, because you now live in a culture where the state takes care of you. And that applies to your family as well. So, in a society where your father would know that when he is old, there's no one to take care of him, he wouldn't be able to afford to be an asshole to you. Like, that's the thing, right? And he would also have, like, many children, so he'd probably have brothers and sisters. So the chance that, like, if you reach the point where you're at odds with your entire family, then maybe it's fucking you. You know, maybe you're the douchebag, not your entire family. But in a society where there's no welfare and your father knows that he's going to get old and there's not going to be anyone taking care of it, then he has the incentive of not acting like a douchebag. My family isn't awful, but they are cringe. Well, the family isn't supposed to be heaven either, but it's supposed to be the unit that keeps people together. If you look at what happened with the black community in the United States, like, how do you get from a place where they create jazz music, which is renowned throughout the world, like masterpiece, some of the best piano players at the time were black people, among other cultural achievements, and then you get from that place to a place where they are today, and the answer is welfare. Because it broke the family unit. And there are very smart ladies who do the math, and they make TikTok videos, and they say, well, why would I have 4 children with one baby daddy? I can have 4 baby daddies, each of them with a child, and then I get more child support. And they're right. Like, mathematically speaking, they are absolutely correct. They are playing the system. They're playing the new meta. And it makes fucking sense. Like, yeah, me too. Hashtag. If I could have, like, if I were to get childcare from women, then yeah, sure, I go around and I have as much sex with as many women as possible, and then I get the money. Like, sure, why not? V, please read this. You see Perry the Platypus back in communist Romania. The government repossessed the everyone lawn gnome, so I was forced to move from home to home, being the people lawn gnome in my village. I have no idea what you talked about, but Perry the Platypus. I don't even know who Perry the Platypus is, but thank you for the $20. Get more less salt reactor is small enough for vehicles. Oh, that's interesting. My father died of heroin overdose. My mother is an alcoholic. My brother abandoned his 2 small daughters. So did their mother. I'm best and I'm not good. Okay, well, do better, I guess. Just do better when you have kids. I mean, you know, like this stuff, because this is another thing. Like, you'll have people that say, well, yeah, but like my brother is an addict, my mother is drunk. Okay, but like, you can also have, if the state gives you welfare, you can also have politicians that pocket the money. You can also have corruption. I mean, I don't know which is better, you know? It's up to you to decide, but preferably, my intuition says that if things have been doing like this for the entire mankind, and it worked, I'm not sure welfare can work, especially when it's a Ponzi scheme. Like, every generation, you need more people to pay taxes than people who rely on welfare. Which means that if you have a generation where there's more elderly people than young people who pay taxes, well, then you have a problem. Everything sucks, but have some money. Thank you, Rusta. Take this from Basescu. Man, I just want to make a video where I take that Yad de la Basescu and make it with take from the Democrats or from Joe Biden. Let me show you. Hold on, chat. I'll show you. I'll remake the translation. So you have this dog, right? Take from daddy.
Bravo.
Have some from mommy.
Bravo.
Good boy. Have from the Democrats. Take from the Democrats. This is the Democrats, they're giving it to you. Take from the Democrats. It's from the Democrats. Take from daddy.
Bravo.
Good boy. Well, thank you, Braga Julian. But how will you pay your bill? You sound like Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. Zed, if you're listening to me for more than 2 years now and you just realized. The dog didn't do it, yes. Okay. Hold on. Let's Well, you know what they say. Well, at least I don't know if you know what they say. They used to say this in Romania, but it's only because we had access to glorious socialism. They used to say that the cheese in the mousetrap is free. I'm pretty sure like fact checkers are going to debunk it and they're going to be like, no, actually, the cheese in the mousetrap is not free. Okay. Soken Pupe, I will never unban you. Soken, look at me as I look at you as you look at me. It will never happen, Soken. Do you understand what it means? Under no circumstance? You will never be unbanned, Soken. For those of you who don't know, like Soken would contact me on Facebook and go on tirades and drunken rants that I wouldn't be able to make sense of what he was saying. And at which point I banned him once. And then he asked me to unban him, which I did. And then he resumed with the drunken rants. And then I banned him forever. It is forever, Soken. Forever. Do you understand what forever means? Soken, listen to me. One day, you will get old. And you will pass away like all humans do, right? And you know what will happen that day? You will still be banned. There we go. Well, I can't ban him again, because if I want to ban him again, I would have to go over my word. I would have to first unban him, and if I unban him, then that would mean that I go over my word. Unless someone else unbans him, and then I get to ban him. Did I did it twice. Leave me alone, Abaddon. You know what? Socket, do me a favor. Do me a favor, Socket. Add Abaddon on your friends list and talk to him. How about that? How about you talk to Abaddon? And Abaddon can tell me what you spoke. If you want to tell something to me, Socket, tell it to Abaddon. Abaddon, if Socket tells you something, you tell it to me. There we go. We fixed the problem. Anyone who wants to unblock the sock is free to actually add them on your friends list. If Socket Puppe is great, what is stopping you from talking to him? He's not banned in my chat. He's not banned from my server. I personally, in my free time, do not wish to hear from him. That's it. Well, then fucking make a Facebook. Make a Facebook and add sake. And you know what? Like, hold on a little bit. Why the fuck do I even have to unban him? I don't usually add people on my Facebook. Like, my Facebook is for real life friends that I grill with and family. Alright? My Twitter is my business. And my Discord. No one is stopping him from going on to my Twitter. In public. Jesus. Now, where was I? Is racist? Dude, Swedish people are... Okay, maybe it is racist. I'm sorry, Sock. I didn't want... It's not racism, Sock. It's not because you're Swedish. Alright? It's because you have drunken rants. I'm not gonna... Okay. With that out of the way. What is the problem that the left has with the family unit? This is a problem that they had since Karl Marx. And the answer to this is they want to achieve equality. So equality can't happen if people care more about their families than they care about other people. Which is why you need to dissolve the family unit. How will you dissolve the family unit? This is actually shocking. Is that children need to be raised by the state. So the idea is when you have kids, they don't get to be raised by mommy and daddy. The child gets taken into a facility and he gets raised along other children in order to teach them the value of socialism. I'm not even kidding. Like, imagine a society, all right? Like, I just want you to imagine. Of course, it's such a ridiculous concept that is so against the human spirit that you will never manage to achieve it unless you have a tyrant and he forces it upon the weak masses, which is what actually happened. Which is what actually happened in certain places of China. Like, you had the communes, and it wasn't even taken to the extreme logical conclusion. But like, imagine you have a child, yes, and then it's taken away from you. Like, the maternity word, the child is taken away. And they're being placed in a foster home or, some institution that the government controls. And he gets to be raised with other children. And that's it. Like, there is school, yes. But you would not have parents, right? Like, you would be raised by the state. So in that situation, you would probably not have a family tie. Like, you would destroy the family unit. The problem is that in such a system, I don't even know why humans would want kids. Like, why would... The only way you could have kids in such a system is if you ban any form of contraception, like all whatsoever, and everything is very regulated. So people will still want to have sex, but like they will probably not want to have children. Hello, Daddy. Let us begin by abolishing our kitchens. For the 19th century silk merchant and socialist philosopher Charles Fourier, utopia was the kitchenless house. Men and women would live collectively cooking inside an open common kitchen and free canteens serving up marmalades and pastries and lemonades in abundance. The Fourier communities that arose in the mid-19th century built their homes just as he imagined. So, there is the kitchenless house. Usually, people who work at corporations can have them. Like, I know people now, through the magic of capitalism, they never eat at home. They always order from outside. Like, seriously, I have friends who went to med school, and they never cook inside their houses. I mean, they will either go out and they eat, or they phone up Uber Eats or anything like that. So I want to show that capitalism is usually the solution to communism problems. So the problems of communism was like, oh, well, the kitchen, right? Like the kitchen is annoying because people have to cook. So their solution is like, let's have open common kitchens and free canteens. Well, now food is so cheap. Well, it used to be before the pandemic, but food used to be so cheap that a lot of people would just order food on home and they wouldn't cook. Marxists hate the family unit because the family undermines the state's power, because family is local and the state is everyone. Exactly, yes. Their communal life would relieve women, in the words of the radical feminist and utopian architect Alice Constance, of the thankless and unending drudgery of an inconceivably stupid and inefficient system by which her labors are confiscated. So, you have this Marxist theory that being in the kitchen is oppressive. Like you see in this thumbnail over here, there's like chains tying the family to the house. I firmly reject the notion, and the reason I reject it is because I try to imagine how the opposite could be. So, you marry a big titty woman, right? Like you married this lovely plump lady who loves you. She goes to work, brings you money, and all you have to do is to cook and stay home. And apparently that should be oppressive, right? So if you marry a beautiful wife and she gives you her money and all you have to do is have sex with her and cook for her, how the fuck is that oppressive? Like, can anyone explain to me how that would be oppressive? Like, most people want to spend time with their children, so you wouldn't have to go to work. The thing is, like, no woman, at least not the ones that I know. I'm pretty sure there might be one somewhere, but most women aren't happy if their husbands don't get a job. Like, if they just want to stay home and she gets to work and brings home the bacon. I don't know how many women would put up with that. Like, I'm sure there might be someone somewhere that is happy marrying a gigolo who's very handsome, but he doesn't work. So he will just stay home. On the other hand, I do know many men, including myself, who wouldn't mind having a stay-at-home wife. But a stay-at-home husband is something that I haven't heard. Again, maybe there is a woman out there that wants a stay-at-home husband. If you're one of them, please let me know in the comment section. I just think it's kind of against like the human spirit. I don't think it's society teaching women about this, because it happens everywhere. Like in all society, around the globe, women aren't very happy if the man decides to stay at home and she goes to work. So, yes, like this is like something that communists usually have. It's like liberating the woman from the kitchen. Now, granted, in Romania, women are liberated. There is no stay-at-home wife because the country is poor. Both spouses have to work, so both the man and the woman has to work. And that is the thing that's happening here. I don't see why staying at home is considered oppressive, but sucking McDonald's cock as you become a corporate wage slave is considered liberating. Not to mention, like, something else that I find bizarre. You know, like, the concept, it's like, oh, it's oppressive to cook. Every single person has to cook in order to feed themselves. Now, if I cook for myself or I cook for another person, that's not, like, really that difficult. Right? Instead of peeling 4 potatoes, you peel 7. I mean, fine, you know, whatever. It is what it is. Sketch therapy. Having the state be your family is far worse than having a bad family. You can leave a bad family, make your own. You can't leave a bad state. It won't let you. So, well, there is some truth to that, but also not really. I mean, today, unless you live in North Korea, you kind of have the ability to leave, right? In some places, it's more difficult to leave than in others, but you're not under the Iron Curtain. But yeah, like, you can have a bad state, and this is how I used to talk with Romanians who liked communism, and they would be, right, because they wouldn't live under communism, but they would read the communist propaganda, and they would say, well, yes, but back then everyone had a job, and back then things were more equal, and blah, blah, blah. And I would be like, okay, so why were the borders closed? Like, if it was such a fucking utopia, which I'm not arguing that it wasn't, why was the border closed then? Why couldn't people leave? I mean, surely no one would have wanted to leave, right? There weren't that many people from the US that wanted to go into Soviet Russia. Do you think it's the weather? Like, people in the US lived in more tropical places and they didn't want to go to Russia, which has Siberia? But yeah, like, people are leaving Cuba, people are leaving Russia. Although, leaving Russia, I would say that's due, like, right now, the ones that are leaving is due to the mobilization. I mean, it's possible that if the United States would enact a draft, there would be a lot of US citizens that would flee to Mexico or Canada. So this is a temporary thing. But I'm talking in times of peace, not in times of active conflict. Political defined. Thank you for the 50. Holy shit. Family unit destroyed by no-fault divorce, welfare, require public school, and authoritative power hunger. Think they know better politicians. Refer to the great state formerly known as the Republic of California. So I do agree that the no-fault divorce either shouldn't exist or it should have punitive damages. Like think about this way, right? Like, any contract, and this is something that shocks leftists when I go against the no-fault divorce. And I think, like, if you enter a business contract with a person, whatever it is, right? Like, you're supposed to take care of 50% of the company and they're supposed to take care of 50%. If you back up from your contract unilaterally and the other person doesn't, you have to pay damages, right? Because you violated the contract. So if you violate the contract, there's always a punishment. But for some reason with marriage, that isn't. Marriage is probably the only contract where not only can you have no-fault divorce, but you can also get 50% of the things of the other spouse. So if you get into a marriage with a person and they happen to be very wealthy. So let's say I marry Angela Lopez or whomever the fuck, Whoopi Goldberg from The View, right? Like, I marry Whoopi Goldberg from The View. She becomes infatuated with me. She sees my YouTube channel. She tries to seduce me. I have to say I'm, not very strong-willed person. I fall to her charms, right? I move to the United States and I get married with Whoopi Goldberg. Now, she obviously makes a little bit more money than I do. And if I get a no-fault divorce, well, now I can get her shit. So there is a financial incentive that I would get a no-fault divorce just to get her shit. Like, I am financially motivated by the government. Like, come on, don't you do it? Like, just do it. Just take her money. Just do it. Welfare, same, yeah. Like, if you know the state can take care of you, then you don't need to be loyal to the family. I mean, well, what is loyalty anyway? Thank you for the 149, justifiably stupid. That Alexander says, off-topic Russian story. In military recruitment office, one man is shouting, "I'm federal judge." Commissar responds, "We just double-checked. You are now RPG infantryman." That sounds like a joke. I don't think it's an actual thing, but still. If they reach to that level of raising your kids, you can bet that you cannot leave the country. I don't think it will ever happen, simply because when it comes to children, there is such a strong emotional bond. It's why in no communist state they attempted that. I mean, revolts and rebellions do happen in communist states as well. It's just that the media doesn't report on them. However, you would probably need a Tiananmen Square once per month if the government really attempted to do such a thing, and it's not sustainable. This is why they don't do it. I mean, it's just a thing in theory. So there's many Marxist ideologues that advocate for it, but even modern Marxists are such ashamed of this shit that they don't bring it up. But you do find it every now and then on a paper somewhere. Anyway, right, so by Austin's calculation, those labors amounted to the preparations of 1,095 meals a day a year for their husbands and children. If we begin by abolishing our kitchens, what else can we get a taste for destroying and for creating? A bit of self-governance here, some collectively organized childcare there, beginning with the kitchen, and we might end up with a whole new society. This is the premise of the revolutionary politics of family abolition. The US-based writer and academic, smart one, Sophie Lewis, is our most eloquent, furious, and funny critic of how the family is a terrible way to satisfy all our desires for love, care, and nourishment. Her new book, Abolish the Family, offers a powerful introduction to the new world beyond the nuclear family. I love that the left loves this word, powerful. And I want you to do a thought experiment. Actually, no, I'm giving you homework, right? Notice how many times leftist media talks about the word powerful and in what context. And then look at the right-wing media and see how many times they talk about the word powerful and in what context. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Usually, if you read about the word power on Fox News or Breitbart or any right-wing outlet, they talk about power as in a way to minimize it, right? So they want to minimize the word power to diminish it. When the left talks about power, they usually talk about something that you know is fucking wrong, and you know it's like against the human idea, like for example, abolishing the family, and they will use the word powerful. I know, powerful book about abolishing the family. Rings of power, yes, good explanation. Yeah, when the left talks about rings of power, like, you know there's something wrong with it. You know that it shouldn't exist. It's a powerful TV show. So, the family, Lewis and other abolitionists and feminists argue privatizes care. The legal and economic structure of the nuclear household wraps love and intimacy into abuse, ownership, and scarcity. It is fascinating that they believe, and this is something else that the left does. You know, they can point to an accurate problem, and their solution usually exacerbates that problem. And if you point it out, they go like, "Oh, so you're actually doing whataboutism. You're doing whataboutism." So if they say that the family is abusive, and their solution is a socialized childcare, right? So like the government takes care of children. My question is, do you not think that orphanages have abuses in them? Like, do you not think that the government, it can be abusive? I work in the construction industry. Master bedroom has been replaced with an untold number of other PC non-offensive names. Yes. I remember articles about them. Yeah, it's not the master bedroom anymore. Fucking hell. Man, you know, America was great when it had comic books, right? But right now, I'm generally like inclined to have a cultural ban. Unironically, like look, I understand how it went. Like, this culture was fostered here in Europe, right? Like this whole ideology, and then it was exported into the United States, and then Europe got rid of it, but now it's coming back from the United States. Like, can you please just stop importing it here, all right? Because I know that in Britain it's also like, oh, you can't call it a master bedroom. Yeah, call it the slave bedroom. That's actually more kinky. I would go for it. You know, I would fucking call it the slave bedroom. Welcome to the slave bedroom. Cobra Kai was not bad. Shut the fuck up, Zord. For every Cobra Kai, there's like 10 rings of, Lord of Rings of Power plus privilege. But every single Cobra Kai, every single one, it's got like 10 Rings of Power plus privilege. I love that. Yes, ban American entertainment for 5 to 10 years. Master branch in Git repository technology renamed to main branch. They did that at university as well. It's not a masterate degree. Okay, fine. Like, you can't master a field anymore because then the field gets offended. So anyway, look at this, right? The hard work of care, looking after children, cooking and cleaning, is hidden away and devalued, performed for free by women or scandalously low-paid domestic workers. So I would like to point out that especially in America right now, there are so many people who would pay anything just to be able to see their children more. Because that's a problem, right? Like, if you work 12 hours a day, when the fuck do you get to see your children? Like, playing with your children is a blessing. I don't understand. Why would you even have children if you're not interested in spending time and playing with them? You know, like, I get, like, changing diapers. I get the, having to clean up after them. Like, yeah, that's not something that people like doing. It's something that people need doing. But looking after children and playing with them, why the fuck would this be a problem? It's not the rings of power, but rather the wrongs of power. Oh my god. Dude, stop it. You're making me steal that joke. Taking care of your own child is priceless. Yeah, but then you have leftists. Well, Marxists in this case. Let's be honest. Like, even most hardcore leftists, if you go to them on Twitter and you're like, do you want to abolish the family? They would probably say no. At least I hope, like, I've never made this social experiment, but I think they would say, no, we don't want to abolish the family, Lewis is clear-eyed and witty about the inevitable knee-jerk reaction. I love how it's a knee-jerk reaction. Yes, like, some things require a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, if you go to prison, right? And you are locked in a jail cell with this muscular man. He's like twice as big as you. He is very athletic. And he looks at you like a piece of meat. And he wants to take your tushy. And you say no. And he goes like, what is with this knee-jerk reaction, kiddo? I genuinely don't understand. Yeah, sure, if you talk about abolishing the family, yes, people will not like that. This is a knee-jerk reaction. Of course it's a knee-jerk reaction. You fucking deserve it. It's healthy. The knee-jerk reaction is when you go to the doctor and they check your reflexes. So they have like this little hammer and they try to check to see if you have the knee-jerk reaction. If you don't have the knee-jerk reaction, it's pathological. Like, it's unhealthy not having the knee-jerk reaction. Yes, if you don't have it, it's a problem. It went to a weird place. It went to a place of fucking sanity, Kaitan Mel. No, but like, imagine if you were to use this expression, the knee-jerk reaction. Like, you have a lady who's like, my boyfriend is jealous of my dog. And you're like, yeah, like, he sees me cuddling and my dog and he just doesn't like it. So anyway, one day I was fucking my dog and you're like, what the fuck? It's like, why are you having a knee-jerk reaction for? Because sometimes you just need to, I guess. I want to take your wallet with all your money. No. Well, that's a knee-jerk reaction. Yeah, you're being reactionary. Dewey, why would I slow down with the spurging? What do I get if I slow down with the spurging, huh? Why should I? I'm having a knee-jerk reaction to Dewey, the Vietnamese cat. Yeah, no, if you don't know about it, it's literally a Reddit post. Like, there's this on relationship advice. Like, when I saw it, I was like, no. It's like, but it's so interesting because it's a roller coaster ride of emotion. Like a woman saying, my boyfriend is jealous of my dog. And you're like, that's ridiculous. What type of person would be jealous of it? And then she's like, so anyway, I was fucking my dog when... It's like, what the fuck? Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, it went there really fast. See, sketch therapy couldn't handle the sock and puppe. Like, sock and puppe, at one point you have to ask yourself, is it not you? Like, it's not just me that... Like, sketch therapy tried to defend you, if I remember correctly. Like, he was there with you. He was suffering the plight. He was trying to give you a hand, and yet you bit the hand that fed you. And now sketch therapy is on Team V. He understands the suffering and the pain that I went through. You know what, Socken Puppe? I feel bad for not telling you, but it was Sketch Therapy that initially suggested I should ban you. In the middle of the night, Sketch Therapy came to me and he asked me, V, why don't you ban Socken Puppe? And I was like, I don't want to ban Socken Puppe. He's a loyal subscriber. He's been with the channel for... No, V, you have to ban him. You have to ban him or I am leaving. And I did what Sketch Therapy asked me. I did what he asked me to do, Socken Puppe. My wife has been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. She spent all of the money I brought home. How is that not being paid? Shut the fuck up, Brie. You're upsetting the Marxists. If Marxists could read, Brie. See, he doesn't even remember when you were nice. I remember, Sketch Therapy. I was here. I remember when you were nice to him. You are probably the first person that asked me to unban him. And yet he doesn't remember. That's how much he cares. Alright, anyway. Family Abolition asks us to take seriously the idea that children are everyone's responsibility. By the way, I heard Democrats say this. And I heard teachers say this. When a teacher says that children are everyone's responsibility, you should know that they are radical far-left extremists. And what they mean, you know, they are masters at manipulating the language, right? When they say our responsibility, they say our privilege or our right. Think about it. When social media says it is our responsibility to crack down on misinformation, or it is our responsibility to censor and ban, is it really a responsibility? Because a responsibility implies punishment if you don't fulfill it, right? So, for example, I have the responsibility of taking out the trash. If I don't take out the trash, number one, wife gets angry. Number two, there's trash stacking up in the house, and you can't live like that, and I have to suffer it, right? So, if I don't do my responsibility, if I fail in my responsibility, I get punished. You have the responsibility of following the laws, right? Crossing the street on a green light. If you don't fulfill that responsibility, you get punished. You get a ticket. You get to prison if you violate other laws. So, responsibility means punishment. When they say children are everyone's responsibility, right? They don't mean it as a responsibility. They mean it as their privilege, power over them. Here's the thing. If a child, like there are many children in my neighborhood, if one of them takes a brick and breaks the window to my house, or if one of them kicks a ball too hard and they break the window to my house, their parents have to pay damages for me because their parents are responsible for their children, right? But if you have like children are everyone's responsibility and they do something bad, do you think everyone is going to pay? Do you think everyone is going to go to prison? And even if everyone is going to pay, let's assume that you have this system where the government pays for you. Does it really affect people? Because at the end of the day, it should be a punishment. Like you are punished for paying the damages. So, and the concept of punishment is to be more careful so you don't do it again. Now imagine if the government would pay every single time someone litters. You know, like you pay the city hall every time, like the government itself or all the people, you know, they pay taxes together. And from that money, every time someone litters, when you litter, you don't give a shit because it's not your money. Or if it is, it's such a small amount that you don't really care. Should I ban like DSP? Man, DSP, unlike me, he's got 500 or 600 people watching. Like with DSP, he affords to ban people. He's got people to ban. I have 237 people watching, which is a lot, by the way. I'm grateful. However, if I don't have that many people to ban. Like I would run out of people. I can't DSP my chat. I'm just saying, it's not that I wouldn't wanna. Not that I wouldn't love to. I mean, it gives me a big PP every single time I ban someone, like all the other Jannies. But you gotta look at the context. Yes, I'm at half the level of DSP, but it doesn't work like that. If I'm at half the power level of DSP, I can't ban half my people. It's human nature to protect children. Yes, like even a cat. Hello, Roman. Even a cat, if you take a kitten away, she starts to hiss and is getting angry. Matt, do not ban for you. We lost 4 people, but we got the Blizzard developer. We got Roman Kenny. I'm curious if Roman can draw an elf which doesn't look like a Blizzard elf at this point. I think it's etched into his blood. Like he can't unblizzard himself. By the way, Roman, did you hear that if you want to play Overwatch 2, you need to allow Blizzard to monitor your voice chat and you have to give in your phone number? Like, what's next, Roman? Is Blizzard going to ask me for a stool sample and a blood test? Will I have to give my BloodWorks QR code, proof of vaccination, just to log in and play Overwatch 2? I'm really curious. At what level will they be happy? You know, maybe I can get like a Blizzard person into my house to see me fucking my wife, just to see if I'm allowed to play Overwatch 2. I mean, we might get to that point. You know, if you want to play Overwatch 2, you gotta install a camera into your bedroom so Blizzard can watch you fuck your wife. I'm just PlayStation 5 does it too. Yes, I am aware. Family Abolition asks us to take seriously the idea that children are everyone's responsibility, not just their parents. Alright, this is an idea with a long genealogy, which Lewis traces to the messy history of the activists who have tried to live according to a more emancipatory family politics. We meet the Russian revolutionary thinker and activist Alexandra Kolontai, who demanded that society will feed, bring up, and educate the child, and that the narrow and exclusive affection of the mother for her own children must expand until it extends to all the children of the great proletariat family. I mean, look how anti-human this whole ideology is, right? Like, first of all, they consider the love of the mother to be narrow. Narrow and exclusive affection, right? So every mother needs to love all children. Like, first of all, human beings just don't work that way. Like, you can't love all the people, right? Like, human beings have their family that they love the most. Then the outer circle, best friends, then acquaintances, and then strangers. There's no fucking way you're going to care about someone you've never even met who's halfway across the world. If you could redefine any word to win an argument, what would it be? Like how they redefine racism. Oh, I would redefine leftism. Like, leftism would mean a mental illness. Like, when you ask someone, why are you a leftist? It would be like, why are you mentally ill? I mean, look at this. Look what I'm reading. Look at this shit. Look, Sake Puppet doesn't care if I ban him. You know what, Sake? I'm not going to ban you now, but when you least expect it. To add more drama to your life. Like, one day, Sake, you would not expect getting banned. And you will be happy, we'll be joking, we'll be laughing. And then it will happen. When you're at most happy, at your peak of happiness, that's when it will come. In the 1960s, the radical Shahula Firestone, her name is Firestone, argued that women's and children's liberation were inextricably linked. Yes, and by the way, removing a child from a parent, it's called liberation, and could only be achieved through the diffusion of the childbearing and child-rearing role to society as a whole. The gay liberation movement organized a leafleting campaign at the U.S. Democratic National Convention in 1972, demanding that legal rights parents hold over their children should be dissolved, and free 24-hour childcare and centers should be established where, I can't read this, and lesbians can share the responsibility of child rearing. By the way, this is a quote, right? This is a quote from the gay liberation movement organizing at the Democratic National Convention. It's from much darker times, chat. Though these activists each began from distinct critiques and advanced their own agendas, children's liberation from the patriarchal family, from legal ownership and from economic dependency was the central idea of socialist transformation. This is absolutely true. Like it's even in the literature of Marx and Engels. Wait, Roman is leaving? Holy shit. Roman, don't leave. The political imaginary of abolition is framed by difficult questions about destruction and creation, and ultimately about the nature of social change. Lewis takes her cue from the prison abolition activist. By the way, okay, so the family, look at this, the family like prison seems an inevitable part of our social fabric, and yet we do not necessarily want to know what happens within them. You know, I would love, like, this is how I would do activism. If I wanted to push more people to the right, I would force, you know, like the left is about censorship and they don't want certain information to be accessed. I would force every single person to read this. Like that would be my authoritarian dystopia. You know, in the leftist authoritarian dystopia, information is forbidden from people. Like you're not allowed to, you know, talk about this, you're not allowed to talk about that, you know, don't talk about this. I would force people to read it. I would be like, no. You're in the right-wing authoritarian hellhole. You have to read this. Like, you force people to read it. If you do not read it, an armed man will come to your house and read it for you. They would sit you down and they would read it for you. Becca Lewis, activist, leftist, abolishing the family. The family is an oppressive system which does not love children enough, and all mothers have only narrow love for their children, and as the state needs to... That's what I would do. I would just get like all the leftist literature with all the most radical proposals from the most radical activists, and I would sit people down and I would start reading them, right? And then I would be like, this is who we're protecting you from. Or shut the fuck up and go to work. Anyway, right. I'm going to now do Sock and Pupe a disservice. Do you know what I will do to you, Sock and Pupe? I have ways to fuck with people that are very unconventional. Like, I think of it. Now, like most people, most other streamers, they would mute you. But I, Sock and Pupe, will do something else. Someone should make a leftist translator book or website. Oh my god, you go to Germany? Holy shit, you have so much material, it's not even funny. But anyway, Sock and Pupe. Do you know what I will do to you now, Sock and Pupe? Do you know what I will do to you now? I will take away your ability to talk with sketch therapy.